Hi folks, Storey County Commissioner Clay Mitchell here, coming to you from the Tunnel 2 on the V&T. I just thought I'd record a little video. I'm going to apologize in advance if this is a little long, but a few things I wanted to share. First one has to do with turnout. We got a primary election coming up on Tuesday, June 9th, and Storey County, we got about 22% in early voting, and so we're a little low. And we usually do really well turning out on election day, but if you haven't done so, get that vote in. Either you can return your ballot, or you can mail it, you can drop it off, or show up on election day. So they're open from 7 to 7 at your local polling place, and that's again this Tuesday coming up. So I wanted to share with you, I've taken a position on a candidate in the Republican primary for Congressional District 2, and I thought I'd just explain a little bit about why I'm endorsing who I am. There were 13 candidates who filed to run, and among those are a lot of strong candidates, a lot of people I think would be great for the job, including what I call our local boy made good, Sherman Talaski, good guy that we know from up here in Virginia City. And anyway, when I found out that David Flippo was running, I expressed some doubt right off the bat about someone coming from outside the district. And so he reached out. I met with him pretty early on. And I'll tell you a couple of things that really stood out to me. And the first one is, he's got a pretty impressive resume, strong for a candidate, lots of money in his campaign. He's actually loaned himself over $1.5 million to make sure he's got the money to get his message out. So well funded. And he'd been building his campaign for years. He'd been campaigning in Congressional District 4, which is where he was living, and had run 2 years ago, is running again. So, I kind of was just going to sit on the fence and let the campaign play out. But as I watched the messaging coming out of his campaign, over time, I felt like it got worse and worse. And what really stood out to me was he was heavily attacking another candidate, and that's James Settlemyer. And the thing that became really clear to me is it felt like his campaign felt they needed to destroy Settlemyer's reputation to have a chance. And that bothered me a little bit. It bothered me even more that as those attacks started, it became clear that it didn't really matter to them if the attacks were truthful or not. It was just about scoring the points. And I've always run positive campaigns. Sure, I may draw a difference between me and an opponent, but I try to keep it, positive. What's my positive vision for the future? And that was not what I was seeing coming out of the campaign. And so it's at that point that, I kind of decided that I was going to jump off the fence and I was going to actually endorse James Settlemyer. Let me tell you just a little bit about him. He was our state senator here in our district until we got redistricted into another district after the 2020 census. But my time in office as a commissioner overlapped with him about one session. So he was minority leader. And he really helped us fight off some bad ideas in that 2021 session. If you want to know about that in detail, I'm happy to share with you. He's also, we worked with him as the head of the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. He's been a great help on some of the things that we need there, managing over 1,000 people at the state. And the thing that really sticks out is he always shows up. Even when he was out of politics and he wasn't, running for anything, he would always come to our Lincoln Day fundraisers, and he'd show up with some really cool item that he'd made and donate it to auction off and raise some money for the local party. And that really stood out to me that he was around. And so that was the challenge I was having. It's like, how do I reconcile the story that the Flippo campaign is telling about him with this grounded, solid, conservative representative that I know? And so I started doing my research, and what I found was that every criticism of his voting record was, at best, it was a distortion of what actually happened, and often it was just downright not even true. And certainly the criticisms were missing context, which made the voting record a lot more understandable from a conservative perspective. I'll give you just one example, and that's ranked choice voting. So the Flippo campaign account claimed that James had introduced 2 bills to try to bring ranked choice voting to Nevada. And so I looked at those bills and I read them, and I even watched the hearing where one of them was introduced, and neither of them said anything in any of their versions about ranked choice voting. And so when I confronted him about this, he posted an opinion piece that was posted on a liberal blog from a ranked choice voting activist who claimed that ranked choice voting was supposed to be in one of the versions of the bills, but it somehow didn't make it in. Well, I could find no record of that anywhere. It wasn't in the initial bill that was introduced, it wasn't in the final, and either way, it wasn't in two bills. And so this concerns me a lot, because when a candidate chooses to double down on a mistake or bad information or a lie or whatever you want to call it, instead of acknowledging it and owning it, that's a really concerning trait to see in someone who wants us to trust them to represent us in Congress. So let me give you the main reasons why I decided that I was going to endorse James Settlemyre. And the first one is this. He is focused on and extremely familiar with Northern Nevada issues. So why does that matter? Well, when I call our congressman, it's not a social call. I'm reaching out because my constituents need something. My community needs help with something. And so having someone who knows the players, knows the dynamics, and knows what the issues are and how to solve them, that's going to help me in my job as a county commissioner. The second thing is that he's such an experienced legislator, and he knows how to get things done, but even from the minority position. So why does that matter? Well, midterm elections are historically not good for the incumbent president's party. And so there's a decent chance that the Republicans in Congress are going to be in the minority. And if that's the case, then having someone who's operated from that position and is skilled there is going to be really valuable for us. The third thing that really made a difference for me, and why I think he's the right guy, is that he's not in a hurry to get to Washington, D.C. Like, I'm back there a couple times a year on assignment, and I'll be honest, like, anyone that's in a hurry to get to Washington, D.C., either they might be crazy or they're looking for something, whether it's to climb a ladder or to get in front of the cameras, be in the spotlight. But either way, I'm looking for someone who's not in a hurry to get there. And I know for a fact that he had to be talked into running. The next thing is that I believe he's the right type of candidate to win in CD2. This year, there could be a blue wave, and voters in this district over-index on the importance they put on local connection, local familiarity. And there's a very experienced, very likable, very savvy, locally connected Democrat politician that's running for this seat. And I have real concerns that if the person that we put up on the Republican side isn't connected to the district in that way, it leaves the door open, and it could flip the seat to where there is no Republican representation in our congressional delegation. He's also, I've looked at his campaign. He's got broad support. He's a good campaigner. He's never lost an election. James has won, he's raised $300,000 in under 3 months, which is really impressive, and most of it local. And almost, he's got a ton of endorsements, 100 local Republican leaders. Our governor, basically all of the legislators from this district are backing him. And finally, I trust him. When you've been in the trenches together, when you fought issues, you learn to rely on the person that you're with, and I trust him to have our best interest at heart. So that's why I feel strongly about James Settlemyre and why I'm backing him for this position, and I think he's the best guy for the job. And so if you feel the same way, I'd welcome you in joining me in voting for him on Tuesday and sending him to represent us. If not, that's okay. Please get your ballot in. Please come vote. We got to get that turnout up to make sure our voices are heard. And if you have questions about other candidates and other races, feel free to send me a message or reach out. I'd be happy to give you my opinions. I know most of the candidates, a lot of them at least. So thanks so much. Once again, Clay Mitchell, Storey County Commissioner. Just a few of my personal thoughts. Obviously doesn't represent the county or anything from my official position, but get out and vote. We'll see you.